Boxing King Media, powered by BYD, Mr. Gareth A. Davies, all the way from Paris, France. I was expecting the Eiffel Tower in the background, Gareth. You've let us down.
Yeah, instead I'm in a hotel room up an alleyway in the Gare de l'Est with sirens going off around me in the background. I'm in the heart of Paris for a couple of weeks for the Paralympic Games, and delighted to be here. It's always an amazing festival of sport and triumph of the human spirit, as they call it.
Yep, Gareth A. Davies, all the way in an alleyway in France. You couldn't make it up.
Well, the hotel's up an alley.
All right.
I'm not in an alleyway.
I thought you were just hanging about in an alleyway. It would bring up so many questions that
We need some new questions anyway, but
we
not
do.
nothing to do with alleyways,
We do.
please.
I'm pretty sure they'll jump on that one. Say, yeah, if anyone's got any questions for the next time we speak to Gareth about why he's hanging about in alleyways in France, let us
No. Well, we're completely unshockable anyway, I think, by this stage, anyway, by the questions of your subscribers, anyway,
know. Might have opened up a
the
can of worms.
peculiarities of some of their questioning. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all good banter and you're a good sport, but yeah,
it
might
is.
might have opened up a can of worms there for you. But what you been up to, Gareth? It's like a bit of it's almost like off season, isn't it? It's like been like a month where really everyone's kind of been low key. And well, what have you been doing?
Well, I've just come back from Washington, D.C.
I was there for the boxing, weren't you? The
And
PFL.
MMA. Yes, and I had a very interesting interview with Francis Ngannou and Jake Paul. He
I'll probably
was a
start with
his main event as well, which was great.
okay. I'd like to start with Ngannou actually. You know, what kind of
So again,
I'd like to start with Ngannou. What kind of mm, like what kind of frame is his mind in after that knockout from AJ? Did you talk about that? You know, how did he, because he was making a lot of reasons for the loss. You know, he's talking about, the timings of the ring walk. What's he saying now that he's had time to deal with it?
he is not done with boxing, is what he's saying. It's there on the Talksport MMA boxing YouTube channel, as on the MMA YouTube channel for Talksport. He is not done with boxing. On his wish list is a fight with Deontay Wilder, believe it or not, and a rematch with Tyson Fury, and a home fight in his homeland of Cameroon. Um, Obviously, he's gone back to MMA after being away since January 2022. But he's got the bug for boxing. That's the impression I got. But he's got this big fight with Renan Ferreira in Riyadh on October the 19th, first of all. So he's got to have all his focus on this Brazilian who's an amazing fighter, very, very big man, very adept, very fast, very rounded. But as you know with Francis, you have to kind of talk to him for a while to open him up, to cut him open. He's not particularly forthcoming, but he warmed up in our chat. He told me about his first ever fight as a kid against twins. I said, what, one after the other? He went, no, but at the same time, I got my ass handed to me, he said. We just had a general chat about everything. But I think the impression I get with him, Francis doesn't go outside himself that much. He said, look, I'm focused on this fight at the moment, but I definitely want to fight Deontay Wilder. And how ironic Boxing King Media, that if he did fight Wilder, he will have fought Wilder, Joshua, and Fury. And yet we still haven't had Wilder and Joshua, and we probably will never get it. And we haven't had Joshua and Fury. And if they both lose, we may never get that fight between them. If Joshua loses to Daniel Dubois and Tyson Fury in the second fight to Alexander Usyk, we may never get that fight. It's quite extraordinary, really, how the boxing world works. And if the Sabians and His Excellency Turkey.
Yeah, very true. And did he speak about the AJ loss? Did he, kind of give a different
No,
review?
I didn't ask him about that. I didn't ask him about it. I didn't ask him about losses. I didn't ask him about the loss to AJ. It stands for itself. I think he's already put it out there. He's annoyed about certain aspects of timings when he went to the arena. He's trying to, and I like it when fighters find reasons why they lost, because it means that part of them is annoyed. It's sticking with them. And also, I didn't want to talk about negatives in his life because I didn't want to go. So many people are asking about the loss of his son as well. And as you know, when for fathers, for grandfathers, for mothers and grandmothers, the loss of a child or a grandchild is an enormous tragedy. So I wanted to steer away from negative vibes with him, if you like. It wasn't that kind of interview. But I did want to talk to him to realize that his story is very inspiring for people. And his answer was, well, it just shows you that life sucks for some people. And he's had difficult times in his life
Yes,
for his entire life.
it definitely has been severely tested. That's definite.
Exactly.
And then just moving on to some other topics. Derek Chisora, who do you think he should realistically fight next? Because I was actually going to think Ngannou and Chisora would be great, but that could be in Africa. You know, Chisora wants his fight in Africa. What a perfect fight to make in Africa. What do you think?
You could do that, but what would you rather see? Let me throw this to you. Would you rather see Chisora against Wilder, or would you rather see Ngannou against Wilder?
Chisora Wilder all day.
I'd like to see Chisora back in with Dillon White. I'd like to see a trilogy. That's the fight I'd like.
Could he overturn the results? What do you think's happening with Dillon White? Because obviously we've not heard really anything since his last fight. What do you think's going on there?
I think he'll be back soon. I really do think he'll be back soon.
What do you think's happening with the licensing situation?
Well, that's just that's the question, isn't it? The complexity. I don't know is the answer. I haven't looked into it. I haven't delved into that for a while. I've been so busy with everything else. I have not looked into that. It's complex because his case is not being heard by UK anti-doping, is it? I'm deep the weeds with that one, I'm afraid, and I've got so much Paralympism in my mind. Being out here, I'm not sure about it. We'll have to visit that next time. I'll have a delve into it, and we'll talk about that next time.
And what about on the same subject, Conor Benn? We heard like back in January, Eddie was saying that there's going to be a hearing next month, which would have been Feb, March. We're now in August. We still haven't heard nothing. Obviously, we've seen Conor's been hinting a comeback with his photos, etc. What do you think's going on there? Like, because no one said anything.
It looks to me like he'll fight in America again, because I can't see him fighting in the UK. They're at an impasse with that scenario, unless they're sitting around a table and sorting it out. Right now, he's been out so long with the British Boxing Board of Control, it's going to be backdated at some point. But it's a mess because he's fought twice in America since the situation with the Boxing Board of Control and UKAD.
If either one of them are given like backdated bans or anything like that, would that be made public, do you think? Or do you think it'll just be kept private?
No, it'll eventually be made public. Retrospective bans always are. They're not going to keep quiet about it. But we might find out that fights are being made. Obviously, he's not fighting Chris Eubank. He's fighting Zaramata on October the 19th, isn't he? Riyadh season card. October the 12th, sorry. Yeah. On the undercard of Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. So it's good that Eubank's back. It's good that card and that undercard's announced. Brilliant undercard, in my view.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with the Eubank on that card. I was speaking to Dominic Ingle yesterday, and there's no love lost between him and the Eubanks, but in his words, he said Eubank's been warming up forever. Why does he need to warm up fights? Somebody like him should be able to just go straight into a big fight. So what do you make of his opponent selection?
The name is not really fighter, and like I say, it's a warm-up fight. I'd like to see him in with Hamza Shears. I'd like to see him in with Saul Canelo. Fights. That's the kind of caliber of fighter he is. But he very, very carefully selects his opponents. It's a strange one again. There's no answer to it. There's no answer to that. But he has always controlled his career very, very carefully. I think we will see him in a big fight next. I think he's got to be in a big fight next. There's no other place for him to go, frankly.
Is it fair to say that that is what the boxing game is about, making the right fights, and it is ultimately a business disguised as a sport?
Yeah, it is more as much as a sport, it is a business. And it's about making the right moves at the right times, but also being ready. We suddenly thought there was talk for a few days, wasn't there, that Eubank was being like, he didn't want to fight Hamza Shiraz on the London card, September the 14th at Wembley. Then there were a few rumours going around. There was a little bit of mist about the fact that he may, the cloud came in that he might be facing Canelo, and that made sense as well. Big fight. Um, but yeah, it is more of a business. In many ways, it is a business. And as you know yourself, when the money's right, you get all the matchups made. It's as simple as that.
You definitely do. And we've seen, also on that card, we've got Fabio Baldry, Fraser Clark. We've seen Fabio Sam with Frank Warren. What do I've not had a chance to speak to him, but what do you think was a deciding factor? Because he's gone solo throughout his career, you know, played that high risk, high reward game, just working by himself and Dillon White guiding him. So why do you think he's decided to sign with someone this time?
I look at Frank's heavyweight stable right now, and it's just extraordinary. Tyson Fury, Daniel Dubois,
Choice.
um, Joe Joyce, Gilles Zhang, who else in there? Moses Talma, Joseph Parker, and it's an extraordinary stable. It's an extraordinary stable. So he's got the most powerful heavyweight stable in the world right now. And Frank always backs his fighters to the hilt. He always gets them in great matchups. And if Wardley can come through this against Fraser Clark and look convincing, maybe he moves into the top 10, just inside the top 10 in the heavyweight division at that point. So it was fascinating today. I think I saw Moses Talma calling out for a fight with Joseph Parker as well. That doesn't do anything for Joseph Parker. Doesn't do anything for him. So I doubt whether he'd take that fight. But what ambition from Moses Talma to say that he'd step in with him now.
Well, they did say he was going to be a world champion within,
May next year.
yeah. So he's on track for
Other
that.
than Mike Tyson, if it was May next year.
Yeah, and then the last thing I want to speak to you about, Gareth, is I think it was recently kind of put out. I think Spencer Brown said it in an interview that Tyson's going to be keeping the same training team.
Yeah.
He's going to be sticking with Sugar Hill. What do you make of that decision? Is it the right decision? Is it the wrong decision? What do you think?
Well, I spoke to Spencer about that privately as well. It wasn't for an on-air interview. I think it's the right thing. For 7 rounds in that fight against Usyk, nothing was going wrong. Um, Sugar Hill's been with him for 3.5 years now, isn't it? Um, I don't think there's any point changing again. I think they've got to look at their corner work during a fight. But I think he's happy with Sugar Hill. It just went wrong for a couple of rounds in that fight against Usyk. I'm pleased that they're staying with the same team. I know that they're happy with Sugar around. So yeah, I get it. Keep the team. Keep the team. Don't go changing drastically. There's no need to.
Okay, good stuff. What next show are you at, Gareth, in the UK? I know you're at the Olympics at the moment.
It'll be the September 24th fight. September the 24th
Wembley.
at Wembley Stadium. It's going to be a massive week. I'm looking forward to the 14th. Canelo, Berlanga. I think Canelo will win that comfortably like he did against Munguia. I won't be going to Vegas for that. Too much to do. You know what those big fight weeks are like in the UK?
Yeah.
Massive card.
You don't want to be jet lagged in Wembley.
No,
Yeah.
you don't want jet lagged. We all suffered a jet lag after LA. We were in, we were out. It was amazing. We were up late.
Yeah.
Fights on the promenade. That was not us. That was the fights that they had on Santa Monica Pier. No, it's a big few weeks now. TJ Doheny trying to take on Naoya Inoue in Japan this weekend. That's a great fight. I think Naoya Inoue stops him. So I'll have eyes on that as well. But we got big events coming thick and fast now.
Indeed, we do. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Gareth. I'll see you in a few weeks, and I'm sure we'll have loads to talk about. And there'll be loads of drama kicking off before the Wembley fight week, indeed, and we'll have a chat then.
Lovely. Great to see you as always.